On this video, I'm going to cover a subject that comes up all the time, prospecting. And there are 4 outcomes when you're prospecting that we're going to talk about. And it is critical that you and your team master prospecting. Hi, I'm Matt Elwell of the Elite Closing Academy. And in this video, we're going to talk about prospecting and crucially the 4 outcomes that you and your team should be working towards all the time, and critically knowing that prospecting process, and more importantly when to stop prospecting and selling and start closing. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. If this is your first time here, you must make sure that you subscribe, let others know. If you've got a team, make sure they subscribe too. And I think crucially, click on the notification bell so that you get regular updates and free training from me. Let me tell you about the Elite Closing Academy's version of a prospecting journey. Before I do, I think it's really important to make something massively clear. There is an enormous difference between serving, selling, prospecting and closing. So the prospecting journey, and the best way for me to describe the sales cycle, the journey, is, I call it KEB, caterpillar egg to beautiful butterfly. So imagine a tiny little caterpillar egg. Imagine the time it takes to go from that tiny little egg into a little caterpillar that then all of a sudden ends up in like one of those little cocoons that eventually turns into the most beautiful butterfly that can go out, which is somebody that buys your product and pollinates in the world. So you have to understand, what is your cycle? How long on average does it take a cold lead to come in at this end, little egg? How long does it take on average for it to fly away as a beautiful butterfly and pollinate as a paying customer? So that's data that you really need. There's a couple of other things that I think are really important. And the first thing that you should know is, across the globe, it takes a minimum of 5 contact points for a cold little caterpillar egg, a cold lead that comes in at the front. Minimum of 5 contact points along the prospecting journey before you've earned the right, before it understands you enough, before you've given it enough love and nurturing information for it to become a paying customer. So a minimum of 5 contacts. And the sweet spot's between 5 and 12. So firstly, now you know that, it's interesting information. Ask yourself this question: what are we doing for the first initial contacts? What happens in those contacts? How much value do we give? More importantly, how much do we understand the prospect? So that's the first thing you've really got to get your head around. Get the data on what your journey is right here, right now. So when you're prospecting, there are 4 key outcomes. And the first outcome whenever you're prospecting is you should always look for an obvious client, somebody who definitely needs you right now. An example is, I mentioned it in previous videos. If I walk out of this building now and something falls on me and I have a terrible accident, break my leg, like I've got a pain, and they take me off in an ambulance and the surgeon's there and he says, we can mend your leg. It's a bad break. I've got to tell you the bad news, it's a really bad break. By the way, if we don't mend it, I'm not sure you're going to survive. I'm like, okay, just get it done. Bad news is the NHS has gone bust this morning. It's going to cost you £1 million. What am I going to do? Even if I haven't got $1 million, like I've got a real problem on my hands, so I've got to find the money. That's the first thing. So you should always look for someone who's desperately in need of what your product or service sold. So the first thing you must do is listen out for obvious pain. Another analogy is this: a great white shark, an apex predator. It's swimming along one day and there's a dead whale on the surface, and it goes up to the top and it just eats, it gorges itself on whale meat, and it's for 3 days. It hasn't got to hunt anything. It's just got to eat meat. It eats and eats and eats to the point it's like I can't eat anymore. And it starts to swim down to the bottom because it's going to go and digest and chill out. And on the way down, a mackerel comes swimming. A little tiny mackerel comes swimming straight towards it. It's full. It's not hungry. What do you think it does? Opens its mouth and eats it, because its instinct is to eat. Now, I'm not saying elite closers need to be like a great white shark, of course I'm not, but what I am saying is we should be on the lookout all the time for a meal if we're an apex predator. If somebody really needs what we do, we should not put obstacles in the way. We must be aware that if someone really needs us, then it can happen quickly as long as they have a strong reason to buy your product or service. So point number one when you're prospecting is obviously look for a yes. Don't push for a yes, just be aware that sometimes people are ready to buy straight away. Number two is, if it's early on, particularly like before the fifth contact in this part here, then you've got to be prepared for them saying, look, it was really nice to meet you. I've been great talking about your products and services and how it might possibly help me. I need some more information. What's the logical next step? So you've got to have a second step, a sort of, okay, of course I'm going to send you some more information, but critically, you have to decide in your prospecting journey what that looks like, and more importantly, you must control what happens next. So you don't really want to leave it so that they have to get back to you. If there is a qualified interest at some point, then I think it's important, I know it's important that there is a logical next step, and it's up to you, the salesperson, to give them data or information and then find out when in the future, even though it doesn't exist, that data or information is going to be of interest to them. When is your product or service required by that business? Now, you only get to find that out by asking powerful questions. That's a big part of it. So point number two is to give them more data, serve them, give them information, and have a logical next step, another action along the journey. It's really important. Number three is where somebody says to you, look, actually it was really nice to meet you. I'm going to tell you right now, although I've got a small interest in what you do, it's not something we're really contemplating at the moment. We don't really have any obvious pains. And I think this is a really important part of keeping your pipeline clean. I use this question, I go, well, firstly, thank you for being so honest. Let me ask you a question. How would you prefer my team to communicate with you and your team moving forwards, or not at all? So I do give people an option actually at this stage. And if they say not at all, I go, no problem at all. I'll take you off the list. Before I do, who do you know right now in your social circle who does need what we do, or might possibly need what we do moving forwards? So I'm still going to look for a referral. If they say, actually, yeah, we'll stay in your community, I'll go, and how would you prefer us to communicate? Email, Facebook? Definitely you're looking to get them into your community, to capture their information, so you can email, promote, stay in touch, serve, nurture, whatever it is that works for your business. So that's number three. Keep them in the community, get a referral, or cut them loose. If you're a tuna fish fisherman and you catch a mackerel, you got to toss the mackerel out. You're after tuna fish. So at the end of the day, this is an opportunity to clean up your pipeline. And when your team do this, by the way, and do it well, what happens is you get a massively qualified base, which is really powerful. Moving forward, you create your own little mini economy, really, you know, with your perfect customers, just all at different stages along the prospecting journey. And they pop out as beautiful butterflies ready to go out and pollinate every so often. And the more qualified leads you've got in your pipeline, the more prospecting you do, the more beautiful butterflies. The more little eggs you lay, the more little beautiful butterflies will come out at the other end and pollinate and be the perfect customer. So a beautiful, perfect customer. So that's number three. And then number four is a terrible thing, and the best way for me to say it is F off and die, which is a horrible thing to say. It does happen in sales once in a while. People it doesn't work, you don't like each other. It's very rare. I'm sure if you're watching this, it's never happened to you, it couldn't possibly happen to you. Well, it's happened to me over the years many, many times. And actually, it's a very good outcome to learn at the beginning of the journey that you're not a good match, that they're not a tuna fish, they're a mackerel. And you've got to toss them away. And you know what? I'll give you a little story. Recently, my business partner, Nick James, the creator of Expert Empires, he and his team were filling an event up, and I jumped on the phone, keep my skills sharp, and made a phone call, and it did not go well, and the guy was pretty much like, look, I'm not interested, phone went down, which we call an FOAD. And he did it in quite a rude way, to be honest. I was like, this is really rude. So all I did was I just sent him a text and said, sorry we got cut off. Check out expertempires.co.uk. Check it out for free. Now, did he check it out? I don't really care, but he might have done. And I felt great because I know that, look, he's a knock off and die. Unsubscribe, see you later. If he checks us out, great. If he doesn't, I'm over it. It's actually a really good result, and it keeps your pipeline clean. You don't want people that you're not going to do business with receiving great data and your time, your team's time, your money, your energy, your spiritual energy, and your effort. You don't want mackerel if you're a tuna fisherman. Those are the 4 outcomes of prospecting along the prospecting journey. And just remember this, when you understand your prospects, when you follow this process, there needs to be an exchange, a close. You're my perfect customer. That's when you've got to stop prospecting. That's when you've got to stop selling. And that's when you need to close the deal. If you found anything about the prospecting journey that we've just discussed helpful, then let's engage. I really want to know, what is your mindset around prospecting? What prospecting process have you got? And more importantly, now you've heard my video, how can I possibly help you in your prospecting journey? Right now, comment in the box below, and I'm really good at getting back to you. If this is your first time on this video, then you must make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and more importantly, click the notification bell and check out all the other videos on the channel.